Welcome everybody to an episode of Relic News. We have Alice and Micheal Rawlins. Who are these treasure hunters? Well, we're about to find out in a lot more detail. I featured Micheal in my very second episode of Relic News.
First, I want to know how you guys met. You guys are absolutely adorable, and I want to hear how you guys met.
Well, I was hitchhiking home from Victoria. I had left my place because I had broken up with my fiance, and which turned out to be not a great relationship. And I was living in Victoria, working gardening part-time, going to school, and at the Camosun College. And so I was hitchhiking home, and I was looking for a ride on the ferry, and I saw Mike walking down the ferry deck with two books. One was The Art of Loving, the other one was The Deep Sea Fishes of the Pacific West Coast. And I looked at these two books and I thought, what a weird combination.
Strange.
And as he walks up and he sees me smiling, Mike says, well, you think it's about sex, don't you? And I said, well, The Art of Loving, I would think that had something to do with sex. And he says, no, it's a book on psychology.
Psychology of love, yeah.
The psychology of love. And so, because Mike was majoring in biology and minoring in psychology at the University of Vic. And so we started chatting, and I said, well, is it possible for me to bum a ride out to the Fraser Valley, out to Mount Lehman Road? And he said, sure. He said, that's fine, I'm going right by there, I'm heading up country to a party or something.
Well, it was my friend's 21st birthday. Back in those days, that was 21st birthday, and it was important.
So at any rate,
we exchanged addresses, and
we had exchanged addresses, and
you gotta tell her what
yes,
your
I'm
mother
going
said.
to. So anyway, the guy I had been engaged to had been a family friend that had grown up in the neighborhood, and was the best friend of my brother Donald, my older brother Donald. And we had been engaged for about 3 months, and then I realized that he was violent. And so I dumped him, gave him back his ring, left town. Told my mom, don't tell him where I'm going. I don't want to ever talk to him again. And so I get home for the Thanksgiving weekend, and Mom goes, oh, honey, I'm so glad you're home. Bob's here. This was the ex-fiance. And he would just love to get together and have a chat with you. And it would be so great if you guys could get together again. And I just looked at her and I said, Mom, if I marry anybody, it's going to be the neat Scottish guy that just gave me the ride home from the ferry to the Mount Lehman Road, and who I'll probably never see again, so don't even think I'm marrying Bob.
And if I'd heard that, I'd still be running.
Because I really, truly didn't think I'd ever see Mike again.
No, it was just one of those things. And now it's my turn because, 3-4 weeks later?
Yeah.
I was studying, tired, wanted a bit of a break, so I went to one friend's, he wasn't home, another friend's, he wasn't home, another friend's, he wasn't home. Finally, I wound up at, or near the address of where she had given me that she was staying. And lights were all off, and I said, okay, fine. I just rang the doorbell and just promptly turned around and walked away. Lights came on, door opened, and this apparition is about the closest thing I could say. She'd been exercising, hair messy, and
I'd been exercising, gotten all sweaty, and then fallen asleep. That was just a mess.
Anyway, and then from that point on, it just continued on.
So how did both of you guys get started metal detecting?
Well,
how did it start?
Well, like I was saying, my mom always had a big interest in history.
As did my father.
As did Mike's father. And so when we got married, we were living in an old farmhouse. It was one of the original farmhouses on
Columbia Drive.
Columbia Drive in Victoria, one of the heritage homes there. And there was a lot of old atmosphere around the place.
It even had its own ghost.
And it even had its own ghost. She was a lovely lady. We used to play with little kids when, our daughter Megan was born there.
And we're serious on this one, by the way.
She would come and play with the little girl.
Wow.
And you'd hear a little girl crying, and then all of a sudden she'd stop crying, she'd start giggling. And this was from the time she could start to giggle, right? From the time she was 3 or 4 months old. Yeah. And finally, when Megan got to be, I guess, just starting to talk, I got up one night at 2 in the morning because she'd been crying, and then she was talking to somebody. And she was just around 2 and a bit years old, and I went in and I said, "Honey, who are you just talking to?" "Oh, the nice lady that comes to visit me all the time when I wake up and I'm afraid."
So,
Sure.
anyway, yeah, so, but parents started it, but then I was reading a magazine and decided that I'd be kind of a nice thing to get into, help find old coins. And
Well, you were already diving on Broachy Ledge.
at that
and
point, we were doing bottles at that
You were
point.
doing bottles and the beautiful. Did you look in the other room at all the beautiful artifacts?
We'll definitely take a look. In the drawers. I've seen the drawers.
Yeah, but no, on that tall wall unit.
Okay.
One of the things that we were doing was we were going around, and if we spotted an old falling down house or a derelict property, we would get the address, we'd go to the tax archives, find out who owned it, and ask permission to go and check out the property for old stuff.
Just like you were doing with permissions, but, same sort of thing.
So we went down to this one on, I was teaching riding lessons, and one of my students brought in the prettiest little cup, and it's a lovely, beautiful, hand-painted china cup. And I said, "Where did you get that?" And she said, "Oh, a group of us kids were down at this property at 10 Mile Point at lunchtime, just down from the high school, and we were throwing dishes in the water to see how long it took them to sink." And so I said, "Where?" And she told me where. So we went down right away, got the address, got a hold of the lady. She said, "That's just junk on the property. You can take whatever you want." And so at that point, we went and got a whole complete set of
Windermere.
Windermere china out of a case that had not been broken into yet.
And wrapped up in, at that time, it was 45-year-old paper.
So basically, you guys had started, it wasn't with metal detecting, but actually treasure hunting in a sense, like in old barns and old homes and stuff like that.
Mike found the most beautiful abacus. Yeah. Just an old shed. There was an original store on Shelburne Street.
Oh, right, yeah.
And in behind this store was a falling down, leaning shed. So we went and asked the store owners if they minded if we poked through this falling down shed, and they said no.
Very good.
And we went through and we found 3 abacuses, and from the 3 Mike made one complete one, and one mostly complete. And we've still got them in the other room.
So it started off with us just doing that sort of stuff, and then...
So first it was basically exploring and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
Was there any other type of treasure hunting you did before you started metal detecting?
You were bottle digging.
I was bottle digging in the gorge.
And then you were diving off Broachy Ledge.
And finding brass and copper and old shipwreck stuff.
And you were finding the beautiful hot water, ceramic hot water bottles.
And this sort of stuff.
So how long have you been diving for?
Started when I was 11, and I'm 69, so that's 58 years now.
58 years. That's amazing.
That's a long time.
That's amazing.
That's a long time, yeah.
So how did you guys buy the metal detector, and how did you guys start?
I got one. The first one I got was from mail order.
Wasn't it a whites?
No, the first one was a Detect, and then I got the whites.
You got the whites.
Very shortly got the whites after that, yeah. But they got a Detect, and it was an okay machine. But then I got a whites Coinmaster 4000, I think is what it was. Back in 1971, anyways, when the whole thing started. So.
My understanding, you were telling me also that you had gotten some of your children involved, and some of your kids were involved also in treasure hunting.
Mainly our son. I was diving. It started off. I was diving in. What was that lake?
You were Thetis Lake.
No, it wasn't Thetis, but it was the one.
Beaver.
No, we were up island, where the riding ring was, up by Chemainus.
Oh.
Fuller Lake.
Fuller Lake.
I was diving in Fuller Lake, and my son was up there. Our son was up there playing, and he had his little land metal detector, my old one, and I at this time had an underwater metal detector, and I guess he got bored. Because he threw on my spare tank, and this kid never had he was only 10 years old, And I hear this, and here he is, he's coming down to see me what's going on. How was I doing and what was I finding? And so I immediately brought him to the surface and said, this is just, this. No, you can't do this right now. If you want to learn how to dive, we'll teach you how to dive. But anyway, so after that, yes, then he got quite heavily, very, very interested in diving.
And metal detecting.
And metal detecting, yeah. And we would go diving together and
take turns
with a machine. So I would go along, I'd find, it doesn't matter whether it was a penny or a ring or anything in between, as soon as you found something, or even a pull tab, as soon as you found something, you passed it to the other, and that was the deal. And so that worked out very well.
And so then you guys found that chain.
He found that chain. Oh, yeah.
Oh, he must have been happy about that. It must have been a proud moment. How old was he? Was he 10 when he found the chain? Or was he a little
he was
older?
about 15.
15.
Yeah, 15, yeah.
What would you say that you enjoy the most? What do you guys enjoy the most about treasure hunting altogether?
I think it's finding the history. The history articles.
Yeah.
I love it when you find something old that means something. Finding things that tell you about people, where people have lived and what they did, and
the personal aspect of things.
Yeah.
Probably the same as many of us, you know. It starts off with the, you know, well, let's get the gold and stuff, but after a bit of that, then you start finding the military stuff, or the rings with the inscriptions in them. This, you know, that means so much more.
What has been your most memorable hunt together, metal detecting?
You know that one, when I was doing the dance.
oh yes, yes. We were up at West Arrow Park, and we were metal detecting down on some old buildings along the lake edge. And I look over, and Michael is glowing, absolutely glowing,
doing the dance,
doing this happy dance like you wouldn't believe. And you had found
that thing up, the Durham Light Infantry badge.
Yeah.
This the upper, the second cabinet down there.
Yeah.
It's a
Durham Light. I'll show you here. Bring it over. You can show it. Durham Light Infantry Sweetheart badge. Nobody's ever seen one before.
So the Sweetheart badge, can you tell me a little bit about that? Can you tell me why is it called a Sweetheart badge?
When a soldier went off to war, he would have a pin made, or many were already made, either in gold, silver, or just in the unit's brass or copper. And it would be presented to his wife, girlfriend, mother, whatever, as, keep this, wear it until I come home. And therefore it was called a Sweetheart badge.
And you say it was your most memorable. Why? Just because how happy he was?
just how happy he was. It was just so great to see Mike so happy. And I found some good things too.
You found lots.
I found
really
a
good
silver
stuff.
quarter and and a silver dime
and big honking great buckle and the rest of it too.
Yeah.
You know, but
and I found some beautiful things over it. Yeah.
What was your favorite find?
I guess my favorite find would have been when we first started metal detecting down at Plum Hollow. We both had our machines, and we went down, and the ground's really mucky down there, really clayish. And so Mike had headed off towards some foundations. I headed off towards some other foundations. And just as I was walking up to the foundation, I found a big silver buckle that's all hallmarked. And I don't know, it would be plain. It was like a Pioneer.
It was a plain buckle, but beautifully made, silver.
Yeah.
It's gorgeous.
Yeah.
It's just in the other room there.
Yeah. Go get it so she can see it.
Should I go and get it?
That day, Mike didn't find much of anything,
Oh, is that your buckle?
but that was my buckle.
That is huge. That is amazing.
Yeah,
has all the
sterling silver, and Mike looked it up.
Beautiful.
My gosh, you must have been so excited.
I
Well, it is your
was.
favorite
Yeah.
find. I can see why.
Yeah.
How wonderful. How long have you guys been hosting some group hunts, inviting people to your home? And
Oh, yeah. I don't know if I can remember. 3
No,
years anyway.
No, it's been more than that.
Is it?
5 or 6 now.
Is
5
it?
or 6.
Yeah, 5 or 6 years, yeah.
And what do you enjoy the most about that?
This.
Meeting new people, hearing
Yes.
other people's stories, getting, ideas of where, Mike and I haven't traveled a ton together
Yes.
to different places, so it's really fun to hear what you're finding in Ontario as opposed to what we're finding out here in BC, or, what's your favorite, whether you like beaches or you'd rather go to homesteads, or,
just
it's just fun meeting new people
It's
and
the-
sharing experiences.
it's the
the
people.
fun
Yeah.
part.
Always will be. Yeah.
And always will be the people.
Yeah.
Is there a group hunt that has been memorable? Is there one that?
I think they've all been a riot.
They've all been great, absolutely wonderful.
Great fun.
Yeah, just fabulous people,
Hmm.
like you say.
I may not get out and do the hunting when the group hunt is here, because there's always the backup.
The
you know.
farm chores and
The
things.
farm tours, and there's always meals, and you want to have everything nice for everybody while they're here, and I really like cooking, and so it's a chance for me to show off my cooking.
And that, believe me, is
Now the cooking has been absolutely amazing. I can't even, just saying amazing, I can't even express on what we have had all week. It's been absolutely incredible. So what would you say your favorite dish is to serve then?
Well,
I know what mine has been, but what's your favorite to serve?
Okay, I think roast turkey is one of my favorite main dishes, because we grow our own turkeys, and then when they're roasted they look so beautiful.
Yeah.
And the flavor, because ours always eat grass right from the time they're 3 weeks old. They're out eating clover and bugs and grass, and so the flavor is just amazing.
All of your food is very fresh, right?
Yeah, it is.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
You guys pick and forage, I believe. You guys
Yes.
forage
Yeah,
and
we
pick
got I got a whole bunch of morel mushrooms this year.
Do you know what morel mushrooms
Yes,
are? Yeah.
yes.
Well, Mike got 9 quarts of dried morels this spring while I was in Alberta.
Incredible. That's incredible. People get so excited just finding 1 or 2 of them, or 3, and supposedly they're a real delicacy.
Oh, they have just the amazing, and I use them in our gravies.
Yeah, there would have been some in there.
And soups and stews. If I make gravy tomorrow, I'll add morels,
Add a couple
just
more.
as an
Just
accent.
as an accent. And man, they're just beautiful. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, if you had a tip to give to other people in treasure hunting and metal detecting hobby, what would be the tip that you would give them?
One tip:
One tip. You guys can both give a tip.
enjoy yourself, because that's what it's all about.
My tip would be enjoy the surroundings. Go out, and even if you're on a beach, take time to look at the people and look at the different colors and what people are doing, and
Sky.
the sky, and the way the
Mountains,
water
lakes.
looks,
Yeah.
the smell of the fresh air coming off a lake, or
Yeah.
it doesn't matter whether you find anything. Mike and I have often gone out metal detecting together up at Arrow Park, and we'll do a little arrowheading and a little metal detecting, and you may not find anything, but it doesn't matter. You get out, and even if every day the weather is so different, so beautiful.
Yeah. That's another thing we hadn't mentioned, is you also do arrowhead hunting.
Yes.
And how did you come across one by accident one day, or is it really something that?
I set the bar really high. That first one, that was that quartz crystal one.
That was your very
that
first
was my
one?
very first arrowhead.
We were just getting
just gonna go get that right
introduced
now.
to people
Yeah.
in the valley, and we were down looking at Lauren and Sheila Haggart's. Like, Sheila Haggart is a really amazing, she's been doing this with her mom since she was a little girl, and so she has an amazingly huge arrowhead collection, as does her brother, right? And how is Terrell related to Sheila? They're sisters. They're sisters, aren't they? And so sisters. So Terrell had asked Mike if he wanted to go arrowheading, and he said yes. And so Lauren and Sheila offered to take us up to Arrow Park, because everybody finds something at Arrow Park.
Yeah.
And they said that's your best chance of finding something the first time. And so we're up there and walking down the beach, and we'd only been there about 15 minutes, if that, and Mike found this crystal arrowhead.
Made out of, indeed, quartz crystal.
That doesn't do any justice, really. I think.
And it was amazing.
That is an absolutely incredible verse. And you found many more since.
I found quite a few more since. And Alice has found quite a few too.
Yeah.
So what do you guys prefer the most? Do you guys prefer the bottle digging, the arrowhead hunting, the diving, is there, what other, oh, there's also scooping.
Yes,
You do scooping. Do you
yeah.
want to tell me a little bit more, because not everybody knows what scooping, I didn't know what scooping was.
A friend
no
of
idea.
mine named Daniel Ghosh, he lives in Seattle, and he and some friends of his used to get lengths and lengths of titanium pipe from Boeing, and then they started off with that very first one, which you saw all the handles there, right?
Yeah.
And they made a scoop and they started doing that, and then he developed the second one after the fact. And he came up and we got talking, and he showed me how it worked, and so we made them, and it's just been incredible. You can scoop and you can find what you cannot find with a magnet.
And what would you say
Or
your
a
best?
metal detector.
Yeah.
You know, like glass bottles, old bottles and things. If you scoop alongside some of these old hotels and where the old docks were in lakes, and, you know, where a ferry landing was in a lake, for instance, you know, an old stern wheeler landing, you can get amazing stuff, because in a lake in particular, it doesn't deteriorate like it does in the ocean.
Especially in the mud, because the mud holds
The mud keeps it
well
preserved.
protected. Yeah.
Wow. What would you say your best scoop was? Is there one scoop in particular that was
That
your
time
best scoop?
You and was it Daniel that went with you? You guys went up to the park at Revelstoke,
Oh yes, that was.
and
yeah.
you found how many coins in one scoop?
I don't remember. It was just the whole bottom of the scoop was just absolutely littered with coins. I mean, there must have been, $8-10 just in that one scoop, and this continued on and on and on.
Wow. I remember you also told me, though, in one scoop you had found three rings.
3 gold rings. That was at Prior Lake. I ran over to Prior Lake, which was Victoria's nudist lake, and I scooped for three-quarters of an hour, and I came back with these 3 rings. One was platinum, and the other 2 were gold. How did we discover that one?
Yes. How did you discover that one?
That one was basically Mac and I discovered that, didn't
You
we?
and Mac discovered they were going down. Mike had a friend that he was going fishing with off the docks in Victoria.
Yeah, that was right. Yeah.
And Mike and his friend Mac were doing a lot of metal detecting at night. And Mike was walking down the dock to go to Mike Boyd's boat and visit with Mike. And he noticed that there were coins between the boards of the dock. That there would be
There's a restaurant right there.
there was a
Bard's
restaurant and a fish and chips place right on the docks.
Okay.
And Mike noticed there were a lot of coins on the you've got your boards this way,
Yep.
and then you've got your big struts underneath, and sitting under the edge of the boards on the struts would be some coins. And there was even somebody's gold ring.
I managed to find that 22-karat gold ring with that one too.
Yeah. So anyway, they went, wow, if there's all this gold and coinage on the boards,
What's in the water?
what's in the water under these docks?
Well, we knew the coins were magnetic,
Okay.
so
So what
what
they
we
would
did.
do is they would go and take their magnets and go through and get the magnetic coins out and anything that was magnetic, and then they would go back to the metal detector.
You also, when you dive, you also explain there's a technique that you use. Would you like
with
to
the
share
scooter,
that?
you mean?
Yeah.
With the scoot? It's called a torpedo, and we'll get a picture of that a little bit later on. Torpedo 2500, and it's one of the scooters that you get when you want to be dragged around like
And
this.
that was David's idea, wasn't it?
Actually, in the end, it was at the beginning David's idea, our
Yeah.
son's idea.
Oh, wow.
And so it's what we did is we started off with these little cheap Sea-Doos.
Yeah.
We burned through, I guess it was either 3 or 4 of them because they had very faulty switches, but they worked. And you just take them like this and you put them in reverse and it blows the top mud, sand away, carpet of coins.
It just exposes everything.
We were at Blue River and man did we just do
Yeah,
well there.
if you've got a light current, it's perfect. They reverse it, it blows up all the fine silt. Current carries the fine silt away, and they're left with the goods.
With the loot.
Wow. Well, that was the questions that I have. Is that okay?
Yeah.
Is that
Wonderful.
simple enough?
Yeah,
That was
Yeah.
simple. Yeah. And it was a nice conversation.
I told you it was going to be like a conversation.